Hey guys, and welcome back to the Heal with Kat podcast. My name is Kat. I am your host, and welcome to an exciting guest interview episode today on the channel. If you are new here, welcome. Thank you for being a part of the community for today's episode, and follow along for other episodes to come in the future. I've also got a nice history of fun episodes you can listen to, but this community is really all about exploring who we are in relation to our family dynamics, our soul. We talk about epigenetics, we talk about soul guidance, we talk about family constellation therapy as I facilitate that modality in the meat and bones of my work. And it's just really a community to share all the experiences that we're going through on a collective level and how to help you navigate them, especially when it comes to family, because I feel there is nothing I know more about than navigating family systems. If you are not new here, welcome back. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast and supporting this week's episode. And I was really inspired to have Jennifer on the podcast this week because as I've been so open with you guys on my episodes recently and on social media, the last 6 or 7 months have been an inexplainable transmission of change. There's just been so much kind of falling apart. I found myself really in this place of what am I missing? What is the spark of life that I'm missing right now, aside from being absolutely mentally and physically exhausted? And it was God. And it was this kind of reawakening I had in this wonderful book that I'm reading right now called Believe, Ask, Act. And it's all about reconnecting to our intuitive gifts, but believing in this higher power. And I started kind of realizing that I was missing that. And I really, in the last 6 months, have been the least connected to God, source, higher power than I've ever been, because I've been questioning so much in myself and in the world just by everything that I've been going through. And I don't think I'm alone in that. So when I was scrolling on YouTube, I saw Jennifer's shorts that she does on her channel. And I just started kind of scrolling through them just out of curiosity. And every single message was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I really needed to hear all of these messages, but I've noticed that she's really God focused lately. I know everybody has a different relationship with God. Everyone says he, she, it, the energy source, whatever. In family constellation therapy, we call it a field. So I think there's really different ways that people have a relationship to God. Jennifer really gives us a beautiful channeled way of talking about God, how to have a relationship with God, what skills you can hone in on that can help you have a better relationship with source and with yourself. We also talk about how to navigate the energy that's going on in our world right now and how dense everything feels and how everyone feels like they're going through these death moments, tower moments. And we talk about how it's in these moments that we feel that we are kind of pulled wide open. And in these moments, this is where God has a chance to come into our lives. It is not a religious conversation. It is purely just the spiritual perspective of what it means to have a relationship with a higher power or source or a bigger, higher energy that's out there. It is exactly everything that I needed to hear. I know it's going to be exactly everything that you guys needed to hear. And it's going to be a eye-opening, I'm pointing to my third eye, an eye-opening conversation for everybody. Jennifer ends the episode with an energy update on what's been happening in the last few months, a nice little reminder of what's happening in September. It kind of plays on the energy reading that I put in my broadcast channel for the community on what the energy in September is like, which is a lot softer. And then gets us really excited for October with a nice little reminder of how important it is to do our work. So enjoy the episode this week. Everything that we talk about, I hope lands for you. I know it landed for me. And I highly, highly recommend following Jennifer on YouTube and Instagram, because those are the two places that she downloads her wisdom and her guidance the most. And my favorite place is to follow and connect with her. So enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. On the last day of every single month, I give away a free 2-hour family constellation therapy session one-on-one with me. All you have to do is rate, subscribe, and review the podcast, screenshot that, and send it to me in my Instagram DMs. My Instagram handle is below in the show notes. so I know where to find you. And also, I announce the winner on Instagram in my stories. So if this work resonates with you, and if the episodes that I've been putting out have been resonating with you, and it's sparking something that you really feel family constellation therapy could help you with, come find me, subscribe, rate, and review. All right, guys, I'll see you on the other side. Thank you so much. And let's get into my episode with the beautiful Jennifer Adishian. Okay, guys, I am here with my friend, Jenny Adishian. I'm really excited to have you on the podcast. So thanks for being here.
I'm so excited to be here, even though we've never met in person. Like, you and I know we have like some sort of soul connection. And yeah, I'm so excited for our combo. I know it's gonna go a route we're not expecting, I feel.
I honestly felt that too. And when I made the questions and sent them to you, I was like, yeah, this is just like as a common courtesy for like people coming on the podcast, but I'm sure it's going to take a different direction.
Yeah.
Another huge reason I wanted to have you on the podcast is my community keeps asking for energy updates, and I am not like a professional in energy updates. I can like tap into energy, but not like the way that you do it. So I'm really excited for anyone who's listening. You're going to get an incredible energy update for what's been going on, what's going on now, and what's coming for the end of the year with Jenny. But I think part of our soul connection is our Middle Eastern background, where I'm half Lebanese, you're half Armenian. There has to be something there, I feel like.
There's definitely there. Like, maybe we're related in some obscure way. Definitely on a soul level, but lineage too. I can feel it.
Well, my best friend is Armenian, and I tend to gravitate towards people who have like Middle Eastern or Latin culture because it just is that
Yes.
like natural connection. But anyways, let's just jump right in. I really want my community to understand who you are and the magic that you create in your business. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, I'm a true multi-hyphenate and ever evolving in what I'm creating and serving, the ways that I'm serving. And so right now, I am in a little bit of a transition, but when I look at overall my purpose here for people, it's to really help people clarify their vision for their life. So I'm here to serve the humans who know they have a big calling. They're meant to create something in the world. They're meant to have an impact, use their voice. Those are my people, and I'm here to help them clarify that and then also keep them on the path, actually get them to the point where they're creating it, bringing it out into the world, the physical reality. And yeah, I've been doing this for the past 4 years now. And it was really through the lens of manifestation for quite some time. And now it's really focused on a higher perspective, I would say, of, yeah, really serving from our intuition, from our guidance, from God, what we're here to do, and having this overall impact on the people around us. And it's been really fun to shift into that because even within myself and my journey, I've seen it did start with just me of like what I want to do, what I want to create, healing me, the self. And I think we have to start there. And then you get to a point where, okay, now I want to go bigger and I want to help people and I want my impact to extend far past just my own personal life. So, all that to say, vision, voice are my things. And I love hyping people up. I think part of my mission too is just to encourage people. And I can do that in so many different ways, but it's a passion of mine for sure. And it comes naturally. And it's fun to be able to do that for the people I love and the people in my community.
Is that what you have on like Hype Girl Friday or whatever that is that you post? I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, for those of you that don't know, like recently on my social media, I'm now doing a series called Hype Girl Friday, and it's been so fun for me. I've just felt this shift within myself where I'm like, I'm kind of tired of just talking about my own stuff. And I see so many amazing women around me creating things, and I also see how hard it is to do it on your own. And so that's the intention behind is just to feature amazing women, innovative, doing different things, serving in big ways, and like just start to share that love. Yeah.
When did you know that you were ready to move on from the term manifestation? Because I think personally, like for me, when I was just really getting into spirituality, manifestation was like the entry point. It was like the first door that I walked through. And then it stopped resonating with me. And I was like, oh, there's something bigger. Like there's something, it feels so materialistic. It feels so like baseline. I want to go deeper with it. And I love the avenue that you're taking with it with God. And I know that you opened up on a podcast recently about how it's been this vulnerable journey for you to express more about that connection with God. And just tell us a little bit about what that, I feel like I keep hearing the word like graduation, but like what was that like for you
Yeah.
to kind of graduate from manifestation into, oh no, this is something way deeper and bigger?
Yeah, and I totally relate to what you're saying because for me, it was the gateway too. And I think it is an entry point for a lot of people. And it's exactly as it's meant to be, right? We start there because in our spiritual journey and where our consciousness is, manifestation still has almost this, control a little bit, right, around it. And it's okay, I'm going to set my intentions and I'm going to do these actions or these practices, and then I'm going to have this result. And it is very results focused when we think about it because we want something and we want to get to that destination. And I think for me, the more that I was on my own journey and the more that I was witnessing like hundreds of women in my community go through it as well, I was realizing that, yeah, the destination is cool, but it's the journey that is actually the most fulfilling part, whether that's building a creative project or the journey that we take to meet a partner or a new friend or a relationship or even the healing journey, as hard as it can be, there's these pockets and moments of, deeper connection to ourselves and understanding. And so it's funny because at the same time that this was happening, I was road tripping, well, really living on the road nomadically. And so my life was paralleling this. And I was like, getting to the destination is fun, but road tripping and all the different reroutes and turns that happen, that's really where the magic is. And so I started to outgrow this, I think, when I started to achieve a lot of things that I wanted. And whether that was financially or, the dream partner that I wanted, all of these things that I called in, I received. And, I'm going to be honest. Yes, it felt good, but over time I realized that it actually wasn't as fulfilling as I perceived it to be. And I actually still felt like something was missing. And the reason that I went into spirituality and manifestation was because of my mental health. Originally, I pretty much my entire life had challenges with anxiety and depression, kind of ups and downs with that throughout my life. And there was a point where I had really achieved everything, and those things were coming back up for me again. And I was like, wait a second, isn't this why I did all of these things? Because I thought it was going to solve however I was feeling within. And so that was really my wake up call. And, things started to crumble pretty quickly after that. One, because I think that's just what was meant to happen. And two, I started to call in more. I was like, I want to serve more. I want to create more. And pretty quickly, God was like, all right, if that's what you want, then we're going to start to take away these things that actually aren't in alignment with that. And so that was a lot of stuff in my business, friendships, even my romantic partnership. I was brought to my knees over and still am over and over again of surrendering and letting go. And it was and still has been so challenging. But honestly, I haven't felt this connected and at peace. And it's because of this reconnection that I'm having with God and my understanding of what God is. And before it was still the self for me. It was like, I'm the sole creator and I'm going to make this happen. and I'm working with the universe and all these different things, but it's still me. And yes, we are a piece of the puzzle because we got to take action and we got to listen to our guidance. But at the end of the day, we are just along for the ride, as we've been talking about.
You're the
So that,
channel. I feel like you're the channel. It
yes,
like comes through
yes,
you. I feel like your
right.
soul volunteers to say, I'll work towards this higher power, this higher being, this higher purpose. And the channeling, I think it's the way that you channel, and sorry I interrupted you, but it's the way that you channel that is so grounded that I think is what I'm really drawn to, of how you're
Mm,
channeling this connection with God that doesn't feel like um intangible.
yeah, I think, I've realized too, I am a channel, as I think all of us are. Some of us have a stronger sense, but it's something that I've developed over the years. And I've realized that part of my gift too is to experience what the collective is experiencing. And that's really where I share from. Like most people are like, where are you getting this information? I'm like, I'm going through it too. And I'm seeing the higher perspective from it. Like I'm constantly experiencing and then viewing it from a higher perspective, and then I share it out. And it's wild to see how many people are like, you're speaking directly to me. And I'm like, I'm speaking directly to me also, And it's so cool to see how connected we are and also how we're all moving through the same thing, truly. It's just different nuances. That's it. Um,
Isn't that
and
what we
brings a lot of
need right
comfort.
now? Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that what we need right now? Like, it's so intense right now, and like things are changing faster than I think we can even understand spiritually, energetically, like even astrologically, things are really, really intense. And I feel like we need that collective warmth with seeing ourselves and other people and understanding that we're not alone and that there's people out there who can resonate with what we're going through as well.
Yeah, I think that's a part of why this is all happening is to bring us back together, whether that's creating together, supporting each other, like really embracing our humanness. And for so long, I think, I've been reflecting on just as being a millennial woman, how there's this idea of being like independent and do it yourself and solopreneur, girl boss, all of that. And I'm like, that is not how it's never been like that,
I couldn't
you
agree
know?
more, honestly. I could
Like, what
not
are we
agree
doing
more.
actually?
Well, what I love about family constellation therapy is that it really challenges people to step out of their hyper individualism and remind us that at the end of the day, we're tribal communal beings. That's our primal nature. We want to belong to a family. We want to belong to a community. We need it. We need it in order to survive. It's like a basic human need is connection. So I love that you say that because I'm like, I know it's not popular. I know it's popular to be like the black sheep. I know it's popular to be like, a girl boss on your own and not needing a man or needing anyone, but I don't view it like that. I see it so different.
Yeah. And it's possible. Like, I've found success doing it that way. But part of why my business crumbled too is I was so burned out and I felt so isolated. And I'm seeing it in the collective from everyone of like, we're receiving these challenges, if you want to call it that, these opportunities for people to open up more. Like you're getting to places where you actually have to ask for help from someone. And whether that's emotionally, financially, in your business, all the different areas where we're like, no, the pride, or I don't want to burden someone, like that is grumbling to bring us back together. And I've been having so many conversations among friends in that realm. And once the doors opened, it's like, wow, why wasn't I doing this before?
Yeah. I mean, that brings me to one of my other questions I had for you, which is, and it maybe will tie into the conversation, but like, what is one skill that you really had to work on in your career, in the entirety of Jennifer Adishian? Because I know you're going by Jennifer now, not Jenny. I think I called you Jenny,
Yes,
but Jennifer.
yes.
that you really had to work on to become who you are today? Like that you would maybe give to other people who are trying to discover what their vision is for their lives and how they can connect with themselves.
You know what's funny is the word that keeps coming up is actually resilience.
Mhm.
And I feel like that is a skill that we develop, and it can only be developed through the challenges, the failures, the reroutes, whatever you want to call them. And whoever's into human design, I'm a 3-5 profile, and essentially I am here to try things and fail, figure it out, and share it with other people. Like, I'm here to just experiment.
Yeah.
And sometimes things will work, and they have, and other times things don't. And that is, I mean, everyone's been there. I mean, how many times have I been there in my entrepreneurial journey of 10 years? I can't even count the number of things that I felt like didn't go right or I failed. And I still get back up. Like, I will never let go of the vision that I have for my life. And I haven't always felt that solid in it. But through those experiences, it's all to bring you back to no, like confidence, power, resilience, trust. And we don't develop those things from an easy life. I know everyone wants that. And we see it even in business, like more ease, more this and that. And yes, that's possible. But actually, the thing that's really going to prepare you for your calling and what you're meant to bring to the world is all of these things that you're experiencing right now. It's on. So resilience. And I feel like through my experiences, that's why I'm such a good hype girl. That's why I can encourage people and speak straight to their soul about what's going on in their business or their vision, because I know I've been there and it's so hard to get back up.
How do you start what's the best way to ask this question? Like, how do you create your vision? But that's such a general question. I want to really hear like the nuances. Like, what is the process for you where you know that you are creating a vision that is aligned for you?
Well, here's the thing again. That's the difference between manifestation and how I'm living now, which I'll say is guided. I'm living guided by God, intuition, right? Instead of me creating the vision, which I think we can run into some challenges around because it's not always what is meant for us. But what I would invite people to do instead is start to make space for the vision to come to you. Practices that create space in our mind. That's where the vision comes in. That's where the ideas come in. And once you start to get an idea or a download or a feeling or a vision, then you can start to create around it. But anything that I've ever created, when I really think about it, and that was successful and felt really good to me, it was given to me. I didn't pick it out of a hat and say, I want to do this. When I've done that, I can make it happen, but it doesn't always feel so good. And I think that's the difference, is receiving it and then moving from that point. Yeah.
I think that the creating space thing is incredibly important to cultivate, especially if you're on a spiritual journey and you do believe that you receive these kind of downloads or divine guidance of any kind. And I know for me, a lot of times, depending on where I'm at in my cycle or my season of life that I'm in, like I don't want to create space. And so lots of times it's like I will go on a walk around the lake near my house and I'll listen to some music or I'll just like pray in my head. But honestly, I feel like for me, traveling is an incredible way for me to create space. Like I'm leaving for Italy next Friday, and this is going to come out the week that I leave. But I can't wait to get on the plane and turn my phone off and open up my laptop, because I know that the closer I am to like the ethers and I have silence is like, oh, it's going to be fucking juicy. Like I can't wait for that nothingness. What are some of the ways that you create more space for yourself?
I think there's so many different ways. Everyone is different. And, I've tried so many different modalities and practices. And I think we have to go on that journey too to kind of find what works for us. But I really think it's about intention when it comes down to it. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. If you set the intention that, hey, on my morning walk, I want to receive ideas. I want to feel inspired. I want to connect to God. I want to connect to, my higher self. Whatever it is for you, set the intention. Because what I see happen a lot for people is they don't create the space. They go to bed at night and they're up with the ideas and the downloads. And that to me means that you haven't created space in your day for it to come through. And God is going to come through when God can access you. And if that's at the end of your day, when it's finally quiet, that's what's going to happen. If that's in the shower, that happens a lot too. When you're driving in the car is also really common. Wherever there's space, it will come in, but it doesn't have to be like that. It can be on your terms. It's a relationship. And so there's this mountain that I've been hiking to, like just back being in LA. And that has been like, okay, when I'm on this hike, this is when I want to receive ideas and like have a conversation. And that gets to be, my time for that. So I think for anyone, it's like if cooking is your thing, when you're in the kitchen and you're in flow, when you're dancing and moving your body, find the thing for you and set the intention that like this is the time. That's going to shift everything and has been huge for me in just being more intentional about receiving inspiration, clarity, whatever you're looking for.
Oh, that's so beautiful. The perfect answer, in my opinion. It's all about intention. Everything is intention, literally. What you attract, what you experience, it's all about intention.
Yeah, it's not about the practice. It's not. I mean, certain practices will tap you into different things, but when it comes down to it, it's like, what are you trying to receive from this? Be clear on that first,
How do you know that you're in the flow with God? And how do you resonate with the energy of God?
Okay. So I have been intentionally, if you want to call it channeling or communicating with the spiritual realm since 2020. And I started daily. And I honestly think there's no other way around it to really commit to having a practice daily. That's how you develop it, trust it. It just builds and builds. But in 2020, I started with the Akashic Records. And I don't know if people know what that is. Have you dabbled in that before? Okay.
Yeah.
I've connected with guides. I've connected with angels. I've connected with ancestors. I've connected with my higher self. You name it. You can tune into anything. I've connected with a tree, like you can do anything. True. It's real.
I have two, actually. I have two.
But for me, God is the highest source and creator, whatever you want to call it. But for me, my practice has evolved. And even before I do any sort of session or workshop or live on YouTube, my intention has always been to connect to the highest source of love, light available to me. And that is God, right? We all have access to this. And so when I channel from that place, it is so much more direct, so much more clear. And it's really interesting because you can even see a change on my YouTube channel from when I went to channeling like guides to God. And it's so much more powerful. Like even I was like, this is kind of intense. But the resonance with people has completely changed as well. And so I think it's different for everyone. Like I am a visual person, so I will see images sometimes. I have like an inner auditory, where I can hear, it's kind of like my own voice in a sense, but I know it's more direct. It's not me. Sometimes I have feelings, and the only way we can discover that is really by showing up for it every day and just, again, setting the intention, like wake up in the morning, be like, okay, what do you want to share with me today? And it could be one word. I remember the first time I started, I was like, I got nothing. It was crickets. And that's part of the process too. It's a relationship. We can't always be showing up just to get like a quick answer and go on our way. So yeah, that's my experience with it. And usually how I know the difference is God's spirit, truly the highest perspective. It's usually something that doesn't always make logical sense to me, or it's something that I don't want to do. And that's how I know the difference between me, my ego, and what I'm meant to do. That's the reality of it.
It's so beautiful to hear you talk about God in that way, because it reminds me of in family constellation therapy, how we work within a morphogenic field. And you've done a session with me, so you understand what this is.
Yeah.
But morphogenic field is it's like a quantum term, but basically like it's a all-knowing field, a consciousness field. But in my relationship with the field, I call it a God field, because to me, source is this all-knowing, what has happened, what hasn't happened, what's been said, what hasn't been said. And when we open that field, for me as a facilitator, I feel this like warm connection of being held in this energy that I know that only truth and love is going to come through in the session at this specific part of the session. And it's incredible because, I've kind of always had a relationship with God. I was raised Catholic and all of that. And the Virgin Mary, like those were my two. Jesus was like, yeah, I'm still working on that. But it's interesting how you have this perception of what God is from like life, and then you start working with God, like one-on-one. And that's what I do in FCT in these fields. And people stand on these papers, and I've literally heard the people who have been some of people's biggest abusers or biggest bullies or the most challenging people. My client will stand on the paper that represents that person, and I will say, look at the client's paper and like, what do you feel? And they will say, I'm sorry, or I was taking my pain out on you, or you were a reflection of me. Like, I hear these things and I go, how can you not believe in a higher power when you hear some of the things that people have been through? And then once they're faced with the energy or the essence of that person, it's this like forgiveness and compassion and understanding that goes far beyond what our ego and our logical mind want to understand of God and what that is. And so sometimes when spirit says, oh, you're here to work with Christ consciousness, I'm like, that's not popular. No one's going to like my work if I'm all about forgiveness and love all the time. But it's not about me. It's about being a channel of something much greater and bigger that I think, especially in today's world, with the work you're doing, I'm doing, people who are trying to channel love and space and like expansion into the world, we need to be super clear for that in our purpose, because the energy right now is so dense and so heavy. So I just love that you don't have to have a specific way. It's like I'm kind of like honing in on what you're saying out loud here. You don't have to have a specific way to connect to God. You just have to find your way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really powerful. And you'll know it's God when you learn to develop a relationship with it, him, her, however you want to look at it. The energy of it, it's just beautiful.
Yeah. And I think, similarly to you, I was raised Christian and I had experiences that didn't really resonate with me, or I just, the people I experienced it just didn't line up, we all have those experiences. And so it's interesting to look at my journey, and I see this for a lot of people too, is like we go through this journey of the spirituality, and then we find our own way back. And mine was through nature. Honestly, like the experiences I was having on my travels with nature, with animals. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I was like, God is all around me. As I was traveling solo, like I felt so protected, so guided. And then also through other people, I could feel.
Mm.
And I think we sometimes assume that always has to be this voice of, this power in the sky. And it's like God is moving through everything,
I have full body
and
chills when you say that. I love
it's in
it.
the conversation right now.
Mm.
Um, and if it's like when you feel a resonance with something and like you get chills, I get chills, sometimes it's like a gut feeling or, everyone's different. Like that is when you know it's for you. You hear something, you see something, and it creates a shift within you. That's when I would invite you to get like curious of like, oh, what is this telling me or showing me, or what's the message here? Yeah.
I think a lot of times we want this like magic sign in the sky, but I think that's actually like diminishing the human ability to be like part godlike is like being dynamic, and like it would be really nice if we just got a sign in the sky, but we're more intelligent than that, and we are made from God's image in that way, and like there's a spark of that living, that divinity within us as a soul. And so it would almost be like I've been telling myself lately, because I'm going through quite a challenging time in many different ways. And I'm like, oh, I don't see the vision for my future right now, or I don't understand how to move forward, or this isn't aligning with what I want. And I keep telling my guardian angel, because I'm working with my guardian angel specifically right now. And I'm like, give me a sign. I just need a sign. And it's like, actually, that would diminish the power of what it means to be a soul in the human body.
Mm-hmm.
It would actually be like disrespectful, because you're smarter than that. You're more intelligent than that. You're more insightful than that. And also, like, we've given you all of these gifts to use. Why aren't you using them? And it's like, no, I just want my sign.
Right. I know. I mean, we all go through that. I still go through that, even though I feel like, you and I are both very in tune. And I think people assume that we have all, we know and we're perfect in clarity. And it's like, absolutely not. It gets even more. You're just always being brought to another level of trust in what you can't see. And that's why we have a lot of these experiences too. It's like, this is how you build a trust, right?
It's crazy because I'm experiencing that right now with living in Denver. It was so divinely freaking clear to be here. And my
Mm,
boyfriend and I were on the same page, and it made sense for us in every avenue. And so we followed it, and we've been here for a year. And now I'm like, oh, this is not feeling aligned for me anymore. But it's like, how is it that you literally can go from one timeline into like another within a year? And it's like, I'm just exhausted. Like, I want to slow down. So, my question for you, that's partly was coming from me, is how do you know that you've shifted into a timeline that's in your highest and best good? Like, what are the signs to look out for? Because I think that it can be interesting how, like, for me, when I moved to Denver, before that, I was getting readings with a couple different people, and they were like, oh, I see you going to Denver. Oh, I see you going to Colorado. And I was like, oh, I guess that must be like the highest timeline. But then now I'm sitting here and I'm like, I really don't want to be here anymore. Like, this is so bizarre. So tell us a little bit about shifting into the timeline and what that's like.
yeah. And just going off of what you're saying, I think that was the highest timeline available to you in that moment, right? Because that's where you were at. And I think looking at these things as stepping stones, because what I see too is, I mean, we're human. We want to know, we want certainty, we want permanence. That gives us peace and comfort. So we're like, oh my gosh, I'm moving to Denver. It's going to be my lifelong, forever home. And it's actually just a stepping stone. And so when that happens and you start to feel a shift within you, and that's the first sign. And usually it's a shift that is like something isn't working anymore. This doesn't feel right. You're noticing it kind of in your physical too. That's kind of the before that happens, before you're either picked or walked into the next timeline level, whatever you want to call it. So if that's happening for you right now, it's a good sign. You're going up, whether you want to agree or not. And, knowing this, you can either then be like, hey, I hear you. I understand. This is not where I'm supposed to be anymore. Guide me in the right direction. We see a lot of people fight it, and that's where it gets harder. But that would be the big sign first, which, it feels counterintuitive because it feels like everything's going wrong, but it's actually what has to happen for you to open the door to the next. And I think a good sign of, am I in the right timeline? Or, maybe you made a big decision or took a leap and you're like, was this the right decision? The thing is about those leaps of faith is it takes time for things to catch up. Like our soul and our internal world goes first. If that's what happens, like same thing with knowing when something's off, like we feel it first within and then we make the decision. That's how it works even with, the timeline. It's like, oh, we start to feel a little bit different. I start to feel maybe more at peace, maybe more expanded. Oh, I kind of want to dress a little different. Maybe I want to actually show up online a little bit differently. And that's your first clue that something's changing and it's going to reflect in the external world. It's going to catch up, but it usually takes about 3 to 6 months. And people don't want to hear that, but that's the reality. And so during that time is when your trust and your faith gets developed even more, because you have to trust what you're feeling within you is real. And you have to trust all the guidance or the knowing that you're getting of like something is coming, something big is coming, a change is coming. And you just have to keep holding on until the physical starts to match up. And that's where people start to second guess. They maybe go back to the old and dabble in it. It's, that's part of the process too. You learn. But I think that's part of why I'm here to show people too of like this happens for everyone. It's pretty copy and paste. Like I've been through it so many times. And once you know those phases and those steps, then you're like, oh, I can handle this. I know what's happening next. I just got to hold on a little bit longer. But those are the big signs, is it's within you first and then the external shows up later.
Yeah, and I think that's such a tipping of the hat, I guess, to like how we are spiritual, how spiritual we all are, that we can feel something's off and then we want to kind of like make these quick changes. And it's interesting as I'm sitting here listening to you with such wisdom about all of it, because it's so spot on. Like a couple of months ago, I was getting a facial with a girl here in Denver who does Reiki, and she's very intuitive. And I was laying on the table and I said to myself in my head, okay, Spirit, if I know that I move too quickly sometimes when you show me stuff and I need to slow down, but I'm not happy here anymore. And I'm really struggling after my brother-in-law died, like being in Denver as a whole. Like I just don't, everything's like a reminder and I just don't want to be here. And I was like, just show me something small that I can hold on to so that when I know it's time, I'll see this thing and it'll be like, okay, it's go time. And I sat there in the facial and I'm getting like buccal massage. Okay. So her hands are like halfway in my face. And I'm like sitting there like, okay, what's going on? Nothing. Okay. Then I created space and I was silent. Then all of a sudden I saw this white house with white pillars, and it was like very rectangular and like greenery all around it. And I felt like I could see the ocean, smell the ocean. And I was like, is it Encinitas in California? Because that was like me and Tyler's dream. Like, where is this? Is it Santa Barbara? No, but like I know I'm close to the ocean. Then nothing. Literally 2 minutes later, the girl, Regina, who's doing my facial, she says, okay, I think I just saw a white envelope with like green on it, but actually when I looked into it more, she's like, I just saw like a white house with like green around it. And I was like, shut the fuck up. Are you kidding me? I was like, I didn't say a word. I was just sitting there. And I was like, okay. And I have full body chills. I'm saying this. I'm like, okay. So of course I like tuned into spirit and I'm like, okay, I know I'm getting a little excited here, but like, when is the timeline? And they're like, a year. And I'm like, don't want to be here for a year. But so I guess I say all of this to ask, like, when you're working with spirit, when you're working with God, when you're working with this like higher knowing who knows the bigger picture of what's meant for you, how do you learn to trust that? And like, how do you know? Because the thing with manifestation is I had someone tell me once, when you manifest too quickly sometimes, Kat, you see it and you act on it too quickly. So I know you have a background with it. So I'm curious, like, how do you get these downloads and then create space in you with certain skills or tools not to move too quickly on it and to trust the timing?
Oh man. I mean, I'm obsessed with that story because it just goes to show too, like, I mean, she was receiving the download too. Like the energy was coming into the room. Like, how powerful is that? And as you were speaking, I was actually getting like Mendocino, Northern California vibes.
I can see that.
So
I can
stay
see
tuned.
that.
Um, okay. I think it's such a dance, right? And that's what I was kind of speaking to before of like, how much are we leading and how much are we actually allowing ourselves to be guided? And it is a balance because when we receive a vision or a feeling or whatever it is, an intuition, I've seen this in my own life, but I see this with clients too, just because of the way that society is right now. It's like, oh, you get an idea, post it on social media. Oh, you want something? Overnight it from Amazon. Like that's ingrained in our mind of like, that's how things work. It's only been like that up until recently, and that can happen. But a lot of the visions that we receive, especially when they're big, it's actually just a preparation. It's just a preparation for you to start to move towards it, start to align your actions, right, towards exploring it, making choices for it, but it's not always meant to happen today. And that could be, yes, a move across the country. That could be a business idea. I've learned that the hard way many times. I acted too fast. But actually, it's funny because it always comes back around when the timing is right. And you're like, oh, now this is when it's supposed to happen. But I was trying to make it happen a year ago. And so it's like you also can't mess it up. Like you really can't mess it up. You're always going to be rerouted, guided to it when the timing is right. And you ask, how do we trust? Through situations like that, when you act too fast and you're like, oh, I actually realized it wasn't fully solidified yet. And, the times when we don't trust our intuition and something happens, okay, another piece of evidence to trust for the next time. And for me, I always say too, like, look at the evidence that you have in your life already. That's where the trust comes from. And when you're doubting, look at when things worked out for you. Look at those moments that have happened before. And that's what's going to hold you, through whatever challenge or doubt that you're moving through. And then another fun thing to do is just start creating more space to trust in your day. So create more uncertainty in your day. Okay, I'm not going to go to the same coffee shop I go to. Spirit, guide me to a different one. Okay, I'm going to let go of like this plan that I have. Spirit, show me what to do today. It's really fun. It's hard for people, but that's how you start to invite more of that in little ways where it's like there's nothing on nothing. What am I trying to say? You can't lose anything from this, You're just having fun playing around. And then when those bigger decisions come through, you've already slowly built up your trust muscle even more to then be able to be like, yeah, like, remember when I went to random coffee shop and I met that person who said exactly what I needed to hear? Okay, like, I know I can trust myself and what I'm feeling.
I think that's amazing. And I think also too, I really want to get to the energy update because I keep thinking, oh, well, what about when we're in this kind of energy? What happens? And all that. But I think that what a better time to work with God, a higher power, and learn to build all of the skills that you've been sharing with us in the episode today than a time like right now when things feel extra challenging. And like you said earlier, I think God kind of gets off a little bit on the idea that people come to him when it's like, or her, or whatever you want to say. I say him, her, what
Yeah.
doesn't, when there's a challenge, because then it's like people seek God in these moments, and there's almost this like maybe a spiritual excitement in the air that when spirit knows that there's these like moments of really human challenging moments, that the heart gets ripped open. Like when my brother-in-law died and we went through that whole process, sorry, I haven't really talked about it yet, but I got on a call with my business coach and I just started crying, and she was like, "Hey, this is what grief does. It rips your heart open." And I think we can meet God more when our hearts are open and in a difficult place to meet God there. And so I would love to hear your sorry, I just get off when I get off on a tangent when I think about my brother-in-law, because his picture is literally right here and I talk to him all the time. But I would love to hear how you've been interpreting the energy lately and how to work with it right now, because like we were talking about before we got on the episode and we started recording, like it is really different right now. It's different. It's difficult. I find it to be one of the most difficult years I think I've been through in my life, just energetically, and the challenges and the things that we're being asked to let go of and let die, and with no sign of rebirth. Like it's just like everything's dying, and there's like I try to peek into the future and it's like, nope, there's nothing to look at right now. I literally see the void. So I would love to hear the energy that you're interpreting and how we can utilize it best right now.
Yeah. Oh man. I'm just tuning in for a second of what
It's okay.
wants to
Sorry, I
come through.
rambled too because I got sidetracked and all that.
No, you're good. And I so resonate with your reflection of what this year has been like. It has been so challenging, and it's been closed door after closed door, stripping away, letting go, surrender even more, down on your knees again, like over and over and over again.
At this time, I'm just at this point, I'm laying on the floor. I'm just like, whatever is gonna happen is literally I'm like not in control, and I hate
But
that.
that's exactly where we're supposed to be right now. It's all to bring us back to source, God, creator. That is really the overarching theme of what's been happening, of we cannot do it on our own, and we have to listen to our guidance more than ever before, because clearly, look at the state of the world. It's not working. We have been trying to do it by ourselves, whether that's in our individual lives, and you could get even more micro, like individual business. I mean, look at the way society operates. We all have our own little home. We're all operating by ourselves. Like, it was never meant to be like that. And it's crumbling right now. I mean, communities, financially, all the levels are crumbling. And it's to bring you to this point of surrender over and over and over again, of that connection to God, connection to source, and also connection to the human on a deeper level, like the heart on a deeper level. And you were talking a little bit about Christ consciousness, and that's coming in. It's like a huge heart healing happening right now for people too. And so we've seen a lot happening in our relationships. And that's been a big theme for the year, is like dropping down the barriers and the walls to come back together, to support each other, create together, make change together. And so many people have been in these huge depths, it feels like, over and over and over again. And it's because we are getting to this point. So, for the people who have been on this path for a while now, and I would say since like 2020, there was this whole wave of people who started to really wake up. I'm getting like a wave in my body right now, who really started to wake up and start this journey of coming back to, whether it was healing themselves, exploring, self-discovery, spirituality, all of us getting deeper and deeper into this, coming back to source, coming back to God, this deeper surrender. Those people, this group, is going to be leading this next wave that is coming. And I know that sounds scary, but there is another wave that is coming to wake the next round of people up.
I feel like I've been seeing that politically and like with our health. And like I've been seeing this kind of like people starting to be like, oh, wait a second. Oh, wait, maybe spirituality and humanity aren't that separate.
Mm-hmm. My whole body is like lit up right now.
Yeah.
Because this message has been moving through me for a while, and I've shared it a little bit on YouTube, but I don't like to share anything remotely doomsday. And it's not doomsday when we really think about it, because what happened in 2020, and I don't know if there's going to be an event like that. I'm not saying that, but what happened in 2020 for me was the best thing that's happened. Like, not what actually happened to the world, but within my own experience, changed my life and changed the course of so many people's lives. Like, I died back then too. I had to. We all had to.
That's
We
when
had
I
to
went through my
change.
awakening too, was 2020.
And so what I've been shown is that all that group of people, you, most likely people listening to this podcast, you are being positioned right now in your group, your circle, your community to help the people who are going to move through this next. You have the tools, you have the expertise. And it's not even really about your business. It's like all the gifts that you have. You're being prepared to be of service in this way. And that's where the breakdown of a lot of like the business stuff or the more the individual level stuff has been happening, so that we can move into greater compassion and empathy, moving from our heart, a bigger service for humanity. And yeah, this group of people knows what it's like. We've been through the ups and downs over and over and over again. And so there is going to be a big wave that happens again. And I'm seeing also October is a huge moment for many people as well. Those of you who have been going through this major death, crumbling, over and over surrender, you're going to start to see the repercussions, the positive repercussions of all of those choices and decisions starting in October in a physical way. So that's good news. Good things are coming. You're being elevated is what it is. And we're going to start to see a flip almost of like celebrity influencer that's going to start to crumble. And the real heart-led leaders are going to start to rise. And that doesn't necessarily mean on social media, but people will know. It's like a knowing of who to go to, who is speaking the truth, who is going to actually make a difference, and it's going to start to flip. So
that's that. I have full body chills when you're saying that, because it's like it's what our world needs right now.
And obviously we're going to see at the same time in October the people who have not been on their path. He is going to turn up a little bit for them. And if you're listening to this podcast, I really don't think that's you. I don't think you would not be listening to this podcast. It's the people we see in our lives who are really struggling right now and living in, the monotony of the day-to-day, fear, lack, scarcity, people that we love and we want to help, but they're going to need their own little kick in the butt to get there.
It's incredible to think about the opportunities that we all have to work with energy and how many times we watch people that we love not be able to take advantage of that. And then sometimes we feel that we may outgrow them or leave them behind, and we may evolve and they won't, and how that affects our relationships. I know I've experienced that in the past. I've experienced that with a lot of friendships as well, where there's like a momentary alignment and then it's like, oh, just kidding. Now you just got to keep going. And you're like, wait a second, I've built an attachment to this thing now. Like, I don't want to shift. So that's really positive to hear for October. When I was tuning into September for the month, just for my community and even for myself, it feels like a very soft month. And it feels like we can't take the reactionary version of us that we were using in June, July, and a little bit of August into September, that we have to start, like you said, shifting, evolving, and like being ready for those pivots into like a new energy.
September is much lighter than these past months, but many of us are still in kind of this choice point of, are you going to choose love or are you going to choose fear? Are you going to choose your vision or are you going to choose to doubt it? It's like this choice point we're in. And that's the opportunity. Everyone's experiencing it in a different area of their life. It's probably the area you've been dealing with your entire life right now. And that's why, if you continue to hold the vision, if you continue to trust and stay in love, you're going to see in October things pick up for you. Mm-hmm. And we got to hold out a little bit longer. And you're going to see sprinkles of it in September. But I really see like a dramatic shift for people. It's going to be different. But I've been doing readings and sessions and everyone's around October. It's wild.
I should really book a session with you at this point. I feel like I've just been like taking in all of your free content, and it's like,
I mean, we could just do one whenever you want.
I would love that. It's so interesting because I really do feel like the energy in the last few months has really separated it. So I think that it is really beautiful to hear something like, are you going to choose love or are you going to choose fear? Because in these moments, I'm sure many people listening to this are like, I'm going to choose the fear because it's going to keep me safe. But it's almost like, how do you choose love and how are you going to lean into that choice, even if it's uncomfortable? Because love is going to feel, it's going to rub up, I feel, against your normal patterning. If your pattern is fear, love's going to be like, oh, trying to push back. And so working with God in these moments is like really, really important.
Yeah. And again, that's why this is happening, to fully rely on source creator. We're almost in a point where it's like, only God can get us out of this. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly where we're supposed to be.
Yeah. Ugh.
And it's scary to be in that place. But I can even see it for you, like yours is all around the heart, because that's what you're meant to help people with. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like every time I ask spirit, like, what am I supposed to do? What's my purpose? I like did a subconscious hypnosis. Like, what is my purpose? Same line every single time. You're here to love, here to use your heart. That's it. Good luck. Like, I need more. And they're like, it doesn't matter. Just do whatever you want. As long as it's like from the heart. It's like, that's really what matters at the end of the day. Your wisdom is just incredible. Like, really, thank you so much for sharing this with me, with everyone listening, because I know that divine alignment is when an energy meets another energy and there's this like need for them to be together. And I can feel that this episode is going to meet the people that are really like searching right now. I could feel like they maybe resonate or recognize themselves in my journey, your journey of like when things fall apart, where do you turn? It's like you try to turn to God. Well, how do you do that? I would love to hear more about this new project that you have that I'm excited to be a little part of. And really, please like promote the shit out of yourself, because I want people to go and follow you to get more of your wisdom that you're sharing, because it's so valuable.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for creating the space. I mean, I think I said when I first got on the call, I was like, oh, I'm a little bit tired today, but I like kept hearing God being like, you are going to be so energized after this session. So God is in this episode. Like, I feel it. And I hope the people listening feel it too. Yeah, so I am working on a new project and I'm so, so excited about, and it's really created around these visions that I've been seeing of where the collective is headed, especially as women entrepreneurs, business owners, multi-hyphenates. I've just been seeing through my own clients and peers and mentors how the old ways have been crumbling. The ways that we market ourselves, even show up on social media, the ways that we're selling and creating our offers. Um, Major breakdown happening in that sense. And I've been experiencing it too. And, I have 10-year background in marketing. So I also have that lens to see like what's missing here. And the gap is that we're all doing it on our own. We're all trying to sell our own stuff. We're all trying to market ourselves. We're trying to wear all the hats, do everything, hype ourselves up every day. It's not going to work anymore. And I've seen that in my business. I'm seeing it with so many other women around me. And so I'm building this. Essentially, it's a creative directory. So it feels like a highly conscious LinkedIn for women to come in and be valued and seen for all of their multi hyphens. So it doesn't even matter if you like, yes, you can have a business, but it could be a creative project, a book, a podcast, a passion project you want to create. And, you get to come into the space and you get to have your own like personal profile and all of that. Yes, but you also get to share what you're working on, share what you're looking for, exchange services with other women, like truly be valued for all of you. Like, for example, for me, I offer so many different things. I have a background in marketing. I'm not really selling that right now, but in this network, I could, offer that to someone. And so it's going to be this space where you can search for people, you can filter based on what they're offering, what they're looking for. Oh, I'm looking for a podcast interview. Oh, Kat's looking for interviewees, like boom, matched, That's the vision for it. And then I'm also going to be bringing in guides like you to have resources to help people just continue on their journey, stay motivated, inspired. And so I'm really, really excited because I know after talking to so many people, it's like people are so burnt out and something has to shift. And so this is what I've been building and just putting all my energy into. And yeah, I'm excited to share it. I have a link that I'll share with you for people to join the wait list because we're still in beta right now. But yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. And outside of that, I'm really focused on just sharing messages, as many messages as I can to support people. And that's all free over on YouTube. So if you resonated with anything I was saying today, you can drop in there for like a quick little inspiration. And yeah, outside of that, I'm not really doing sessions or anything right now, but we'll put links below and you can follow along the journey.
Yeah, please
Yeah.
follow along, because Jenny is just, I feel like the energy that you're in right now is just a complete graduation of like your gifts and your connection. And it's just so beautiful to witness. So I'm really excited for you. Proud of
Oh,
you as
thank
a
you. And
friend.
we didn't even talk about the session that I did with you, which is like been such a vital piece of my journey. We'll have to do a whole
We'll
nother.
have to do it another time. I do like
Yes.
I do have clients come on the podcast and talk about their experience. We don't have to do something like that, but I would
I'd
personally.
love to.
Oh, okay, great. I would love that because that
I'm
would
an open book, you know that.
well, I mean, I just think that like yeah, your session was really powerful and there's so much that people can learn from um the things that you discovered in your session that I know that still sit with me and I don't really remember a lot of people's sessions. So the fact that I like still remember some of the things. I'm like, wow, this was really freaking, I needed that one too. So that was
That
like
was
hit home.
next level.
But
Next level.
yeah, no, I would love that. We'll chat about it and figure out a time when
Yes.
I come back from Italy that works. But thank you so much for just being a channel and being so vulnerable and sharing your heart with me and the community today. And please, guys, when you're listening, visit the links in the show notes below. Go follow Jenny, follow her journey and what she's doing because it just gives you a piece of hope and magic in a time right now that is feeling a little dense.
We're
Is there
in it
anything you want to
together.
finish with before we sign off?
Oh gosh, just keep going. Keep going. The only way to fail is to stop. So just keep pursuing, keep getting back up. If you need a pep talk, please DM me or Kat first before you think of jumping ship in any sort of way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
whether it's a project or whatever, like just, uh, yeah, that's all I have to say. At Jennifer.Adishian, send me a DM. I will get you right back up.
And it's Jennifer now. I need to make sure I put
Yes,
Jennifer.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
amazing. Well, thank you for coming on and
Oh, thank you so
sharing.
much.
Yeah. All right, guys. See you next week.